Today we're going to take a look at one of the lock flow outlines that we've used probably for the last 20-25 years. It's just a series of locks. We use it to implement some of these ideas into our different training setups. My name is Alan Baker, and I've dedicated over 45 years to the study of the combative arts. Welcome to the Warrior's Path, where we train minds and bodies through the study of violence. Now for me, when I start to talk about joint locking, it basically comes down to two possibilities of the human body. The human body can expand or it can contract. Now obviously it can do it on multiple different planes because of the joints of the body, but that's basically what it comes down to. And one of the things when you start to set up training environments is simplification. We want to keep it simple. You'll see that based on the idea that the body can expand or it contract, generally one is a response to the other. An example of that is if someone tries to put on a straight arm bar, a common response to that is to contract and bend the arm. And vice versa, if the arm is bent and you're attacking that bent position, it's a common reaction to try to extend it. Now obviously multiple other things can happen, but again we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now this lock flow series is a basic series of 7 moves. Now we're going to teach them in the basic series so you guys can learn it, but we can obviously break this up and connect them in any way possible. First one is just a wrist lock. And generally the escape from this is they want out of it, so they're straightening the hand and they'll turn the hand. So I'll just let that flow into the next position. I get a master grip and I just go into a cradle position. This is not a lock itself, but it's just a position where you can get multiple different locks out of. His escape is to bend that and bring the arm to him, which is the contraction. And I'll just slide into a figure 4. If he straightens that out, I usually will push them over, go back to the wrist lock, with the wrist toward them. He bends that to escape. I like to catch the fingers, but you can just grab all of them here. And I put the arm in a 90-degree angle, and I can rotate and press to him. And again, it's a position where submissions or wrist attacks can happen, not necessarily attack itself. He gets out of that by freeing the wrist and straightening the arm, puts us into the straight arm position. If he bends it, back into a contraction, just a basic escort wrist attack. So one more time, we'll just kind of flow through the idea. Now again, these are just positions, they're not necessarily locks. We study the positions first, and then out of each position we will take a look at possible locks that can come from it. We do it in this way because it doesn't freeze us to just one submission. We will work our way through positions, get the position first, and then we can, from there, look for various types of locks. So one more time, we'll go through it. Usually once you get familiar with the series itself, I will let my partner determine the transition. In other words, I'm not going to try to shut him down, I'm just working the positions, and I'm going to have him either escape or expand or contract, and I allow that to put me in the next one. So I'm basically following his reaction as I move into the different positions. Now we'll tie this together sometimes. Once I hit this position, Coach David could actually grab that hand, peel it off, and it will put him right into the same drill. Okay, so that is the basic positional flow. And again, each of these positions are not locks yet. What we would do is once we have the basic series down, we can go back through and look at what are the actual locks for each one, because there are multiple options just from this position. And I don't necessarily have to apply it with your hands. This can be caught with the body, and as we've mentioned in other videos, in various positions. Right now we are open space training, standing. We could be doing it in a kneeling position, seated, on the ground, obviously jiu-jitsu. And we will plug them into different environments, against the wall, in a corner. And we start to plug in multiple types of multiple opponents. So once you have the basic series, you can start to plug in the different types of locks, the different types of environments, and start to mix it up a little bit so that you don't get pinholed in your training. Now again, these drills aren't how a fight will happen. These are training exercises in order to start to implement attributes into the body. They start to train your hands to be in the right place, teach you timing, sensitivity, in motion. So one of the basic ones is just off of a straight punch like that. So what we'll do is we'll plug it into this drill and we'll look for those different types of locking positions out of that drill. So if I'm flowing through it, I've got to be able to find that number 1 lock. The number 2 position lock. And again, we can transition into different types of finishes. Right now I'm just trying to hit the position that has potential for it. So we would just plug that into the different types of timing exercises and drills so that you start to be able to connect the ideas together. As I've commonly said in other videos, one of the things that is important to do is to train your body to be in proper position. Now sometimes this is done through drills that may not necessarily look like a combative expression. That's why it's a drill. And being in the right position at the right time is a timeless tool. You'll train your body, your hand placement, to be in certain positions when things are happening. Now, due to that, whether you're thinking about it or not, in a chaotic moment, your goal, your hope is, through that training, that positioning will be there, and it will allow you to be in the right place at the right time and be ahead of time on your opponent. I see this a lot in different Filipino martial arts systems. They're very good at it, and they are very good at piecing together different types of drills. It's one of the reasons why a lot of the drills you saw in the video today is based on those types of drills, because they are very good at doing it. It is important to do this type of training because it trains your nervous system. You don't always get placed in a chaotic moment and have the ability to think. Even training here with the guys, when we start to step it up, I will be placed into environments where I don't have the ability to think necessarily, and my body reacts. I get this a lot in various types of high stress training that we do. Now my reactions aren't always the best ones, and I will note that. I will notice that if I have a common reaction that probably isn't the best one, that's something I need to change. And one of your ways of changing that is intelligent drilling. And that is the whole point of what we're discussing here, and one of the reasons for these drills that we showed in the video today.
Hey Coach, I got a question for you. In a world of punches, where does joint locks live?
I would say it lives in the gap. We follow a principle we call gap art or gap study. And it is a study of what happens between points. A lot of times in martial arts training, we look at things in finalities, right? I look at a beginning point. If I'm here and I want to jab, in my mind, I see my end point here. But there's things that can happen between those 2 points, right? That's what always messes up our plans. Well, that is the study of gap art. It's the study of what happens in the gap. So it may look something like this. If coach throws a cross and he actually hits me with that cross, but he rolls off that side of the head, and I end up in what we just looked at as a potential number 2 position. Now, as we said earlier, it's not a lock yet. It's just a position that has potential for a lock. You know, I may find different things that I could do in there, striking or, as opposed to the question, locking. Now, if I've done the training, my body may be familiar with that position, right? We just did a positional flow of 7 positions that have potential for locks. And we want to do it enough so their body knows and becomes familiar with the positions. Now, if it is, it may recognize that in that moment and then transfer into a joint lock. It might not always be pretty. Like if he throws a jab and I might not, or cross, I might not just catch it. It's not that that's not a possibility, and it's not that you don't train for that, but you also train to be behind time. And this is another principle or training principle that we follow in the CTAC program, is there's 3 times that we'll train everything on. And if we broke it down into 2, I'm either going to be ahead of time or I'm going to be behind in time. You don't always get to choose in a fight. If I'm ahead of time, I may pull out a joint lock if it's my goal. But if I'm behind time, I may get hit. And in that chaotic moment, I have to be able to recognize and pull off something else. So for me, I think it lives more often in the gap. And I see this more in jiu-jitsu training. And you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner yourself. You'll commonly be grappling or submission grappling, pummeling. It happens a lot in pummeling. Standing grappling, hand fighting. You're trying to finish a technique, but your opponent counters you. That son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. How dare they?
And then during his counter, he passes into another position. But if you have done it enough, you'll recognize where he's going due to your training, and you'll be able to turn that into a technique by the time he arrives. So that is probably, I see it more in that grappling environment just because of jiu-jitsu. We do it a lot, right? We come in, we grapple, we put hours on the mat doing it. But if you don't do a lot of it in the standing position, that's one of the reasons we show this series, is because it's different than what is commonly being trained. If you don't do it, you're not familiar with it. So this is one of the ways that we try to fill that gap in training, right? We try to make sure that we're not just doing submissions on the ground. All right, guys, as always, credit where credit is due. I want to say thank you to all of my teachers and all of my mentors who have taught me and trained me over the last 45 years and allowed me to get myself into the positions that I am today.